Live from downtown State College.
Welcome into the Landon Tangwell Live Monday Night Call-In Show. We are downtown Studio Center. Beautiful, windy, kind of snowy, flurry State College on this fine Monday evening. I just came over from the Penn State golf course, and that is sponsored by Anti-Fragile Brewing Company. That is the Keg Cam. Make sure you guys check them out. Calder get some cheesesteaks, get some great beer, head down there, especially if you're coming into town this weekend. Even if it's on the way out, if you need breakfast, they cook up some fantastic breakfast cheesesteaks with bacon. It is perfect. Liquid Light says, gonna be a fun one tonight. It absolutely is. My man, what is up? What is up? Slap the like button the way Johnny Manziel hit the bottle as a Cleveland Brown. Holy cow. Julius Caesar in here right away. I already said 6'7". Did I actually?
I don't know.
I don't think I did.
I was doing my job over here.
Oh, okay. Thanks, producer John. Appreciate it. Yes, the news is out. James Franklin will be the next head coach at Virginia Tech. Oh, boy. This is going to be interesting. I feel like as this is going on, people are starting to feel not as good about the James Franklin firing, although I think we all agree it needed to happen. It wasn't a good time. It wasn't a good time for us to need this to happen. I think it was needed the way it had to go. Like, there was no moving forward with a head coach that didn't want to say that he wanted to be the head coach here, and it was just fully over.
Listen, when you break up with a girl,
right,
you don't keep being her friend.
No, you can't be.
That's not how you.
Yeah, we can be happy for her a little bit.
No, yeah, it's they live their life. You've let that bird flap its wings.
Yeah, you're happy for them, but it's kind of like, all right.
But there's a lot of other birds out there now.
There is, but I don't know. Once again, it's going to be interesting to see which bird Pat Kraft decides to tame. Joe says, love the show. New listener, Joe. What is up, my man? Appreciate you tuning in, my man. Julius Caesar says, we have not heard about Paxton Lynch in a fortnight. Wow. Here we go. If you guys were in the postgame show, a fortnight, I've been meaning to use it in a show, but
what is a fortnight?
Apparently it's 2 weeks.
It is 2 weeks. Have you been reading books? Have you been studying letters?
No, just reading my chat, honestly. Reading my chat is like, and it's an SAT prep course, actually. Will Gamble, thank you for the donation. He said, honest question. Oh, wait, lost him there. Blue Eli, thank you for the donation. He said, I want to wish JF all the luck at Virginia Tech. I hope that we can find our Kirby or Lanning with just a no-name who can flip this program on the right path. I'm with you, brother. It sounds like maybe you want Hartline, which at this point, I am starting to kind of back further and further away from Eli Drinkowitz in the sense that I really do. I don't know. I don't think Penn State is going to hit necessarily a home run hire. Let me know in the comments. Is Eli Drinkowitz or Brian Hartline, is that a home run hire for Penn State? I wouldn't classify it as that. I don't know if there's a home run hire to be had. That's kind of why I say it wasn't the greatest time to need to do this, but it still had to happen. We have a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Landon. This is Martin. I'm calling from New York.
What's up, brother? What's your question?
I wanted just to say that I'm actually from China. I'm an international student from Penn State, so I'm not sure this is counted as the farthest support you have for, I know you had from India, from England.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I actually met you in real life before.
Oh, where at?
The Yards. You were playing basketball with your friend.
Yards is always a good time. I was hooping there today, actually.
Yeah, I think it was around March, April. You were just playing with your friend. I was like, and I just came by to say hi. I said, I really like your show,
My guy, I do remember that. I appreciate the support. I really do. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So just calling today, I saw Coach Franklin got to Virginia Tech. I just feel like I think he's probably going to do good there since he don't play any good teams there. So, and I just hope that he doesn't poach too much of our players this year. I know this is a sad season, but looking forward, I think we have a good foundation to build on for the future. Especially, I think we should keep him nose since his defense schemes usually take 2-3 years to implement, right? And we already spent 1 year to learn from his systems. So what's the point to it's kind of we have too much sinking costs to let him go,
Yeah,
So that's all.
I'm
Thank
definitely
you.
absolutely, brother. Appreciate
Yeah.
you. I'm with you. I don't think I want to spend what is it, $3.2 million times 2 for 2 years. Spend that much on Jim Knowles to get rid of him. I'd like to keep him around. I think his defense is starting to really come around now. Let's talk about real quick Virginia Tech. You mentioned their schedule. They start out with the VMI Cadets. Interesting. I didn't even know where. I guess VMI, is that like an academy almost?
It's Virginia Military Institute.
Oh, wow. They're going against. All right. Well, that's an easy one for him. But then you get ODU. So you got him playing Maryland, JMU, Virginia, Boston College, Cal, Clemson, Miami, Georgia Tech, NC State. And we will get, once again, James Franklin versus Pat Narduzzi. We are going to get where Pitt is traveling to Virginia Tech. That's going to be interesting. But I'm sure. I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. I'm happy for him. Go somewhere where it's fairly easy for you to win. Expectations aren't super high. I do, however, question. Just James Franklin saying that he was going to go win a natty elsewhere. I don't think that's going to happen at Virginia Tech. But hey, maybe he'll make me eat my words and somehow find a way to do it. I don't think he will. Will Gamble says, honest question. Were you blackballed by On3? I haven't seen you talk to T. Frank at all. No, not at all. I do a lot of stuff with On3, not just Penn State On3, but I go on Scoop Duck, Oregon's On3, and I go to Mike Singer, Notre Dame's On3. So I do a lot of stuff with On3, just not Penn State On3 right now. If we could get Heartline, we could get Hardy. If we get that's kind of interesting. I don't know. That's the biggest question around Heartline is like, who can he bring? Can he bring different coaches with him? How much of the recruiting class can he bring? Can he bring backups with him? I think the answer is definitely some, not as much as Eli Drinkowitz could bring from Missouri. We got a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Nate from Lancaster. How are you?
Doing well, brother. What's your question?
So this could be in the past or in the future. What date do you think we have to hire a coach by before we can just say, well, we got to chalk the next season and play for 2027? Or what date would be by 2026 to actually be kind of competitive? Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think you have to hire someone in the day after Rutgers, really, which is then November 30th. I think you got to move. It's really because everything, this college football calendar is so screwed up now, where everything's moved up. Back in the day, signing day was mid-February, and then National Signing Day came around 2017, 2018. It was like December 18th, December 19th, and it was like, all right, it was a little taboo, but people started to do it. And then by the time I was signing in 2021, everybody was basically early National Signing Day. And they have since moved it up to December 3rd. I mean, it's just constantly getting moved up and up and up. And I think we're going to see a record number of Julian Sayin types where he was at Alabama for 10 days and went to Ohio State. I think we're going to see that a lot just in general across college football because you're asking kids to sign 4 days after the college football regular season ends, and there's just going to be movement that's going to happen. So that's another reason why I think you need to get someone in. You need to salvage this 2026 class in some way. If it's just 8 to 10 good players, then that's what it is. It's not going to be a 22-person, elite class with all we got going on. It was unfortunate, but it seems like majority of this 2026 class has decommitted or reopened their commitment. And people say, then you should have waited with Franklin. I don't really think it matters. I think it was going to happen anyways. It just was strung out because recruits knew they had time. If we fired Franklin on the 29th after Rutgers, recruits would have just all decommitted within a span of 48 hours. The ones that are going to follow Franklin or only were coming because of Franklin, they were still going to decommit. They had 4 days to change their decision. So it just would have happened a lot quicker. And so this long drag feels hard for everybody. But this is what was ahead when we fired James Franklin after Northwestern. It was, hey, we're not going to hire someone till after Rutgers. It's just not going to happen. You just don't have the luxury of doing it. Virginia Tech only really did it because of us. We kind of sent James Franklin out there where he had a ton of leverage in all these open jobs. And there you go. Noah, thank you for the donation. He says, we need to move on Heartline. Earliest he'd come, ? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think Pat Kraft, Pat Kraft is sitting back waiting to see how these last 2 weeks unfold, really. And so I think a piece of that is Heartline. I think there's maybe Drink is above Heartline. It seems like Kraft wants that proven head coach to a degree, someone that's actually done it. But I think Hartline's a little bit more of the fallback guy, in my opinion, for Pat Kraft, in the sense if he doesn't hit on his top guys, all right, we'll go with Hartline, and we'll see what he can do as a young coordinator, which has been very successful. The Lannings, the Kirby Smarts, the Ryan Days, all those type of guys. Can we replicate that? We'll take a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
DJ, York, PA.
DJ, what is your question, my man?
So I don't know if you said this or not, but if you're in Pat Kraft's shoes, who are you hiring?
Well, if I'm in Pat Kraft's shoes, I don't know. That's hard. I don't know. So I see some people saying I see is Braum off the board. Yeah, I think so. At this point, I think the only guys you're truly looking at are Drinkowitz, Hartline. I don't really know if you're still looking at Diaz. I don't think you can go Pat Fitzgerald route. I've talked extensively about Terry Smith and how he needs to be here. I just don't think a rebuild with him as the head coach would work out well because he hasn't been elsewhere. He can't bring anybody. He's just losing the people around him because James Franklin's going to take people. And so you can't go that route. So it really does look like it's Drinkowitz or it's Hartline. I don't know at this point of where we sit. Guys are starting to get X'd off the list. I don't see anything else that looks too realistic for this Penn State head coaching search. So that's where I'm looking at. I lean Drink just because of what he can bring in. I've talked about this. The fact that you are just going to have to completely uproot everything and kind of install a new squad at Penn State, similar to hopefully you can replicate what Cignetti did at Indiana. Yes, that's the blueprint. I do think teams will have a tough time achieving exactly what Cignetti's done. That's been very impressive. But if you're Penn State, Drink makes it happen all a little bit quicker. You probably bring over a lot of Drinkowitz's recruits in this 2026 class. So you're signing a lot of Mizzou guys that help salvage the 2026 class that you're losing a lot of. And so I start to become more and more of a fan of Drinkowitz. But if it's Hartline, I'm riding with Hartline. I'm saying, hey, I'll be up here, and hopefully he's the next Lanning and Freeman and Day and all those guys. So that's the hope. I see everybody type Chesney. As much as Chesney might even be in the playoffs. So there's that. I don't know if there's as much smoke around Chesney as most of the fan base would like or assumes. I do think this is how Pat Kraft sees it a bit. I understand he's hot. The name's great. He's won a lot. But I do have this sense, and I've said this before, that if he was doing what he did at Coastal Carolina, people wouldn't care as much. But because it's at JMU and because of recent memory of us in our mind, oh, Cignetti was at JMU, he went to Indiana, look what he did. So the next JMU guy that's successful as hell, he's got to be good too. Let's go after him. And I think if Bob Chesney were to have 1 year at a Syracuse or some school that's just a little bit, and like I said, JMU's going to the playoffs. So look, all the credit is there. I think Pat Kraft would be knocking down his door to hire him, but I just don't know with him being at Holy Cross and JMU that he would pull the trigger. But yeah, Pat Kraft has a tough decision on him. This is going to define his career as an athletic director. I've said this. Nobody cares really what you do at Boston College or Temple, but you get to Penn State, and as much as we've all pretty much agreed it was the correct decision to fire James Franklin, you still did it, and you have to put someone in place that is going to be up to the standards of Penn Staters. That is going to be very important. By the way, if you did not hear, James Franklin and Penn State came to an agreement on his buyout that was supposed to be around $50 million that ESPN and everybody said, oh my God, Penn State's going to be poor. They came to agreement. Penn State's going to send James Franklin on his way with $9 million, and that will be it. And then all those ties are basically cut. You take that money, see you later, have fun at Virginia Tech is kind of how it's going to work. We got a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Bob from Dallas. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well, Bob. What's your question?
I just want to ask you about, so the last few weeks, we heard about how Smith kind of begged Coltonicki to throw the ball down the field, which he finally started to do. Now today we heard about how he got Knowles to add in some of Manny Diaz's stuff to the defense. kind of tried to fix some things that weren't working, which is what a good coach does. Did Franklin do any of that when he was there? I know you played for him, so you would know more than a person not around the program.
Yeah, I mean, look, you still got to give him credit for the seasons he put together. This guy put together back-to-back 10-plus win seasons and did help Penn State get out of a dark time. Yes, whenever I say that and I don't mention OB, it's like the pitchforks comes out. Yes, OB was a part of that as well, but I still give James Franklin that credit. It is difficult when you look at all of the top games that he's played in for now the past 9 years, and it's almost Penn State finds a way to lose. Or I guess Penn State finds a way to not win is really the best way to put it for James Franklin in those big games. Instead of, I can't believe James Franklin did this and found a way to get Penn State just edge out Ohio State here. That didn't really happen. Outside of Marcus Allen's outstretched hands, it didn't happen for Penn State really in the James Franklin era. And then obviously Wisconsin, the 2016 season, it was a little bit of an outlier there. So it's tough to deal with. I'm sure everybody will be watching him very closely at Virginia Tech. We will have recruiting battles that will be coming out of this. And I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm sure James Franklin's going to get – I'm sure a lot of Penn State fans are going to be watching a lot more Virginia Tech because, as we all know, why the news is negative, the hate watching, I foresee it happening. And we have our beloved Twitter heads that love to all, go at it. So it's going to be fun to track, but I do wish James well. He did Penn State right in a sense of helping them get back on track, so we can be thankful for that. We got a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Landon. This is Peter. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Peter. What's your question, my man?
Yeah, so I was wondering, so obviously we're going to be getting a new coach here soon, but who's on your hot board for our next offensive coordinator, and what's the timeline that we're looking at for that once the new coach is hired? I would imagine that'd be something that we need to do pretty quickly.
Yeah, it definitely is, and part of that, too, is who you bring with. So Drinkowitz, if he comes here, he's probably bringing his offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator. That's not for sure, but that's very likely. And part of this just depends on kind of like who opens up in the coaching carousel, and that's part of the. It sucks. It's not fun, but it's the wait and see. Like we just got to wait and see who comes open. Yeah, I don't know if I have anybody fully specific. I've said I want to keep Jim Knowles at defensive coordinator, and yeah, whoever we can look to match with a smart head coach that just wants to let the offense be coached by the offensive coordinator. That is fully what I hope for. Riza Murray says, Landon Tengwall didn't answer the question. I think James Franklin stopped meddling in play calling around 2019 because that's when mid-game adjustments stopped happening like they did in 16 through 18. I'm sorry if I missed that piece of the question. I don't know. I mean, I think as a head coach, there's always some meddling, especially if it's your side of the ball. Like James Franklin did not touch defense. Like he always left the defense to whoever it was. But with him being a wide receiver coach, him being a offensive coordinator, he was probably a lot more involved with the offense, especially from a player standpoint. Like he was in the quarterbacks meetings way more than any defensive meeting. So that's just how he operated. He was with the offensive side of the ball more during practice because that's just how he was. He's an offensive-minded coach. So I do think there was some involvement from James Franklin with the offense over the years. We got a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
You know exactly who this is, Landon. How's it going, brother?
Is that Tony Rigatoni?
It's Tony Rigatoni. Of course.
Wait, let's not kick him off yet. Tony, what do you have to say?
Producer, I love you, by the way, bro.
Oh,
You're like the greatest producer of all time.
You're getting good love over there.
I just wanted to give you a fat kiss.
Oh, there we go.
Is it? I can't argue. He's not said anything wrong.
That's
yet.
true. He's being very kind to you. Tony
Producer,
Rigatoni.
come on. I know I want to give you a big old schmooze.
All right, that's enough of Tony Rigatoni. Producer Steve, when he hears Tony Rigatoni, it's like, wow. The slider goes down instantly. He doesn't play around.
To be fair, I did that. You said put it back up.
I did. I wanted to hear what he said. He was saying he loved the show, so we appreciate him. We'll take another caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Landon. How's it going? It's Jamie from South Carolina.
Doing well, Jamie. What's your question?
Hey, man, I just was just curious. I talked some about like some of the players and stuff that potentially would go with Franklin, but what are some of your big coaches on the staff that you think would just be really hard to replace and probably be a little bit more of an emphasis on a head coach that has a little bit more of a built-up roster of coaches that he could bring with him?
Yeah, so I mean, I like I said, I think it's important to identify who you need to keep right away. If there's a couple players, I think Ty Howe is a really important one, especially with Franklin heading on down to Virginia Tech and now trying to be all up in the DMV recruiting regions. Ty Howe is the DMV recruiting guy here. Everybody loves him. I was recruited by him. He was actually the DMV guy by the time I was really I was already committed to Penn State, but that's when he got that role. And so I got to build a relationship with him, and he is really, really good in that role. And then on top of that, you want to keep, as much as it's been a down year for the tight ends, it's been a down year for just about everybody. So, hey, why not go ahead? Let's keep Ty Howe. I think that's important. I think he's a letterman. I think he's got a bright future. When he was even calling plays after Mike Yursich got fired, I thought it was pretty good. I thought you started to see some more explosiveness out of the offense. Some people were even calling for that to kind of finish off this season. Obviously, we have stuck with Andy Kotelnicki. But Ty Howe's up there for me. I want to keep Dan Connor, the silent assassin, as we call him. I think he's a fantastic coach. More of the same. You got a Tony Rojas injury. I don't blame the lack of linebacker play, especially early on in the season, on him necessarily. After that, I think there's certain guys that will just move on. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see kind of which coaches, who does James Franklin poach? And what else is interesting? If you win these last two games and you are going to a bowl game, I am going to be curious to see if you hire a new coach before the bowl game. Penn State, let's say they hire a coach on December 1st. Everybody on the team on December 6th is open to enter the portal and have at it. So all the people that know that they want to follow James Franklin, I don't know. Maybe they want to leave. Like, does it start to hurt the roster retention, especially if we are going to a bowl game, a little pinstripe bowl run back? I think that could be interesting. But James Franklin is going to get some players from this roster to follow him. You best believe that. A lot of these players really loved playing for him. Isaac, thank you for the donation. He says, love the show. Great win in East Lansing. Next is Nebraska. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. We got a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Mike. I'm calling from Alabama.
Mike. Oh, okay. There you go. We got some Bama love here. What's your question, my man?
Yeah, so my question is, and I've heard a lot of your, takes on a lot of the coaches, a lot of the play calling, a lot of those things. And I love a lot of the breakdown. I was just wondering why there's not much more emphasis on what Danny O'Brien did to the quarterbacks. I'm a little confused as to why he doesn't get a little more blame maybe for Drew Aller and even some of the other stuff about, not taking shots and, not kind of getting after defenses. And I wonder if, converting somebody like Drew Aller and Ethan Brunkmeyer to maybe more running quarterbacks when they're not really like that, why does he not get a little more blame for this?
Real quick, Julius just said this caller's not an Alabama native. You don't have that Southern accent, that's for sure. It's a great question. It's fair that Danny O'Brien does deserve a little bit more heat than he's gotten. I think he's been here since 2021. I want to say he's been here since I got there. And yeah, so the quarterback development has suffered. Finally, if you are a concurrent, you constantly watch all the videos, you remember me talking about a Drew Aller film breakdown from West Virginia 2023 that will finally be released tomorrow. We had some issues, some copyright stuff going on. It was baffling to me to watch Drew Aller in his first game ever. I told you guys I had not watched the tape. That was when I had my concussions. It was really hard for me to watch football physically, like actually my eyesight, and also like emotionally. So I didn't watch, and I went back, watched the All-22. I'm breaking it down for you guys from that game. You will see a Drew Aller that you do not remember. And yeah, so I blame the coaching staff for that. I blame Andy Kotelnicki for coming in and running offenses that don't fit the skill set. Mike Yurcich can have some blame too. Pass it all around. The lack of wide receivers they got him. I hold the thought that Drew Aller was indeed screwed over by his coaching staff. You add on that James Franklin as a former wide receiver coach telling Drew Aller, if he can't throw a perfect deep ball, make sure to leave it short. Those type of things, always very conservative. And it was looked at as a positive that Drew Aller had this fantastic touchdown to interception ratio. But everybody that's been watching is part of the reason he has that ratio is because he doesn't take any chances. He doesn't take any risk. And I think that was a trickle down from James Franklin. Probably hit Danny O'Brien on the way down because Danny O'Brien was like one of James Franklin's quarterbacks at Maryland. I mean, they have that relationship. And so then that falls down on Drew Aller. And Drew Aller starts hearing that. Make sure to underthrow. If it's not perfect, underthrow. Well, you start hearing less and less if it's perfect and more underthrow. And so guess what's going to happen? The football is going to be underthrown. So I've seen this one a lot. People say the people want the best of both worlds of the Penn State coordinator tree. Manny Diaz at head coach. Obviously, would probably be calling the defense too, and then Joe Moorhead at offensive coordinator. I do wonder. Shout out Joe Mo. Actually, just gave me a follow on Twitter the other day. I don't know. Maybe he's ready to come back. I was also defending him because our guy, love him, AQ Shipley, did say that Penn State hasn't had a good offense in like 30 years. I said, Joe Mo might have something to say about that. It was pretty explosive. I get that Saquon and Trace and Gesicki and Godwin, and there's a lot of NFL players. But that was still a damn fun offense to watch.
I'm old enough to remember a great offense we had. It was called Michael Robinson.
An offense that was. It was unconventional, but it was. It did seem fun to watch him just decimate people. We got a caller. Oh,
just missed them.
They bailed out us on his producer.
Quick time to remind you: if you start to hear the phone ring, that means you're next in line. We're just waiting for Landon to finish whatever comment he's making. I will pick it up.
We got a caller. Get Jomo on the show, Nick says. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mike from Cincinnati.
Mike.
So earlier, sorry.
No, what's up, brother?
You were talking about Bob Chesney and how he hasn't had a lot of experience at the big levels. But you bring up Hartline, who's only a first-year offensive coordinator, and he's also getting helped out with play calls with Ryan Day. So I'm just wondering, how is Hartline ahead of you for Chesney?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good question. I think it's mainly in a sense of what he brings. His Hartline is widely regarded. I was recruited by him. I had a relationship with him. He is the best recruiter that there is. Talking head coach, position coach, anybody, he's the best recruiter. I think also you bring a great staff with you, and it's clear that his JMU staff is great, Chesney's. I also lean that way just because of, even though I've said that I don't really think anybody truly knows anything, it doesn't seem like Chesney has really been propped up that much in a sense of by Pat Kraft and him really wanting to go after him. We haven't heard much on that front. I also have said I don't think Pat Kraft really even knows where he's going at this moment with 2 weeks left because he has to just wait and see. So I get what you're saying, but it's more of the fact, and I'm probably falling into a little bit of the trap of the hoping that he would be the next Lanning, Day, Freeman, that prototype of coordinator that is high level, even though we've talked about it in the Heartline preview, he's not actually a high level play calling coordinator. He would come here to basically be the CEO. Whoever he would hire to be the offensive coordinator would be the offensive coordinator. Whoever is, the defensive coordinator is going to run the defense, and he would just oversee everything. He's not going to be calling plays or really involved with one side of the ball, probably outside of the wide receivers. So I think it's fair. And look, I don't think it's that far apart if I was really looking at it. I just think how Pat Kraft is looking at it is it doesn't seem like Chesney is something he's really trying to pursue. Earl, thank you for the donation. He said, Terry's presser sold me. I know there'd be a ton of stuff to figure out, but give him 2 to 3 year contract. If it doesn't work out, I can live with it. I mean, look, so I said this. You guys will see this on the obligatory pregame show. In a perfect world, I'm with you. I would love to have Terry to be the head coach right now of Penn State football. The problem is the landscape of college football, where we are in, the calendar, everything would kind of work against Terry Smith being the head coach here. That's my biggest problem with it, the logistics, the rebuild that Penn State is about to face. And Terry Smith has to manage that. Where's he getting his staff from? It's not like he's going to be able to bring anybody with him. Everybody that he has coached with is actually, for the most part, going to leave. Maybe he could retain a couple people because people do love Terry. But I find that it's going to be hard. How the recruiting, the transfer portal, there's a lot of questions there. I love Terry just as much as everybody else. Trust and believe. God, I'm so happy he's gotten this opportunity and he is leading this team right now. I just think logistically that would be hard, and I just don't think Pat Kraft will do it. He just can't. He absolutely cannot do it. So that's kind of where I'm at on the whole Terry thing. I get it. I get the love. I'm totally there. I was so happy to see him get that Gatorade bath. It was one of the greatest moments in recent Penn State memory, and so that makes me happy. Him getting that first win and saying, hey, he's in the same shoes as Joe Paterno was. That's awesome. And the way he in his presser was just getting emotional, and you could feel how important all of this was to him. I think you're still hard pressed to get it done. Farzad, thank you for the donation. Super happy for James and his family. Terry should not be head coach, but we should keep him in any other role. I think we may be surprised by how many players State will retain. Culture is strong. I'm with you there, brother. I appreciate it. By the way, I see people say Terry for GM. Guys, we need to get a legit GM. He can be, if he doesn't want to be a football coach, like be a cornerback coach, or if this next coach has a cornerback coach, put him in some position, but he can't be the actual GM. He can be player personnel. He can work with the players. He can, help recruiting player personnel. He kind of be everything. He can be the, father figure in the building to everybody and be that Penn State guy. But I just don't think he can be that coach, and he can't be the GM. The GM needs to have actual experience. Talk about wanting to just stab your eyes out. If you've never actually been a GM, that sounds horrific to do at this day and age where you're dealing with fake agents, 17-year-olds that believe they should make $3 million a year. There's a lot of that to deal with. So I'd be somewhat cautious of that one. We have a caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Landon. This is Bill from Harleysville, outside Philadelphia. How are you, bud?
Doing well. What's your question, my man?
So anyway, you do a great job. So thank you. You've talked a lot about just some of your experiences, being part of the program. Can you comment on, obviously you spent a lot of time on the offensive side with Phil Trautwein. How much did you interact with other coaches from, let's say, the defensive side? And Terry Smith seems like he carries just a lot of respect amongst the rest of the team. But how does that get earned? Did you interact much with wide receiver coaches? Just trying to understand the mechanics of how players interact with coaches from different position groups. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So it really depends. Like Deion Barnes, talk to him, a decent amount. Like there's plenty of days you'll go by without like talking to the defensive coaches. And I remember actually Manny Diaz, he did not really talk to offensive players. And there was like a huge respect factor because we knew what Manny Diaz defense was and how he ran them. And we heard the speeches in the team meeting rooms. But he like never really addressed, especially if you weren't like a star. Like he would say what up to like Sean Clifford and like guys like that. But if you were just kind of whoever, like he wouldn't even like look at you. And I'll never forget like walking into the nutrition bar and I grabbed like a yogurt and I turn around and he was like, "Hey, Landon." And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Manny Diaz. He just said my name. And that was when I was like officially a starter. And I was like, okay, like this is awesome. Like I'm being recognized now. So it can kind of be like that, but it's different. Like Coach Dex is a player's coach, and he'll always sit down at the nutrition bar, and like if guys are eating food, he'll sit down, kind of shoot the crap with you. So you have those coaches. Terry falls under that as well. Terry was someone that you could talk to. Obviously the assistant head coach, so he would deal with us in terms of like leadership council meetings. So I was on the leadership council. Terry would be in there kind of helping advise James Franklin, talk to us about things that needed to be talked about. But really, you're not talking to like Dan Connor, not too many conversations with him necessarily, like directly. So it's not super frequent that you talk to opposite position coaches on the opposite side of the ball. But, you talk a little trash to Deion Barnes, say like, I'm going to pancake one of your guys in one-on-ones today, that type of thing. But it's nothing too intense there.
Do you have a preference? Do you prefer the coaches that talk to you, or do you prefer the ones that are very businesslike?
I kind of like both. Having you got to have a mix. You got to like mix and match. Yeah, you can't have it like all be one. Like I loved the Manny Diaz stuff. I love how Deion Barnes, he's from Philly, and he'll just be like, if I just talk trash, he'll be like, "You're not about it, champ." He calls everybody champ. He's like, champ. He's like, he's like, if I was still rushing, I would have put you in the dirt, champ. And it's just funny. I'll tell you what. So no, you got to have different personalities on a coaching staff. That is incredibly important. Greg, thank you so much for the donation. He said, love what you bring, Land, and continue the green at work. What does that mean?
I'm not.
Hopefully no one's doing green at work, actually.
I'm not.
Is
that what he's getting at? Greg?
Probably continue the great work.
Greg Coons. Get yourself under control.
Yeah, it would make sense for the Monday night call-in. Let's just say that.
That's true.
It would make sense for that.
It's on brand.
It's all on brand. He said, loving Greg. No, Greg, I'm just messing with you. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, my man. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it felt so much more promising when we first fired James Franklin of like, oh, like, who are we going to get? And now we're sitting here, and I'm sure like someone, I feel like a name is just going to pop out here and get really hot in the next week. But it's just kind of like Heartline and Drink at the moment. And I don't know what else. Like, people are going to throw out Bob Chesney. And you got, Josh Pate is throwing out Matt Campbell. And you got these different names. But right now, it's just, I don't know. It seems like it's those two, but it is also kind of wide open. But once again, no one knows. No one knows anything. And I've said this, I don't think Pat Kraft all the way knows. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. We will take, if you are on the lines, we will take one last caller. Yes, Isaac. So the Devil's Lettuce. Look, this is the Monday night show. This is where we get, it gets a little spunky, if you will. John says Matt Rule will be revisited. I don't know. The fan base would not be.
Please no.
Yeah, I'm good off Matt Rule. It's all right. Like we don't need to have that. He can stay over there. But it is going to be most curious to watch him this weekend in State College, 7 p.m. One thing I am curious about, too, is what type of turnout are we going to get from the student section? We got Thanksgiving break. Obviously, wouldn't be worried about it at all if we were not in the situation we are in. How many people are going to stay around, or some people are going to get out of Dodge? I hope everybody stays and we have a full-on support. I've seen people throw out. They said, hey, let's just do a whiteout. Let's go whiteout, show full support for this team. It's going to be a night game. We're getting night in the game in November now. That's big time. We did not get to really get that in the past. So I'm excited for this one. I don't normally give my predictions, especially this early. I am going to go 23-7 Penn State. I don't know how we get to 23, but it's going to happen. We will take one last caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Lance, Josh. How are you?
Doing well, Josh. What's your question?
Looking at both James's schedule coming up and the new Penn State coach, 2026 is pretty easy for both. Looking at both programs and seeing where they're both going to grow, 2027, Penn State goes to Oregon, Virginia Tech plays Notre Dame. Who do you think has the closer game?
Oh, Penn State goes to Oregon, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. Ooh. God, that's so far out, but I like this. This is a good ending question. I think Notre Dame's still going to be really good. I think Freeman will still be there. I'll give it to Penn State versus Oregon. We're going to get a little bias here, but I think whoever we bring in, that'll be year two. We're going to go after it. Hopefully we bring someone said we'll be biting kneecaps like Dan Campbell. I want someone with that type of energy. Come in here. Let's continue the Penn State tradition and program, but let's change it a little bit in the sense of let's get real physical. Let's get nasty. Let's run the football. Let's continue to play great defense. And I know we are going to be just fine, so I will give us the win, a larger win. I think we will take care of Oregon in, 2027. Why not going out to Eugene for what I guess will be the first time ever. Should be a good one. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Tomorrow we will have the Drew Aller We Never Knew finally released. It is going to be him, his tape from West Virginia 2023. Trust me, you're going to want to see it. You're going to be probably angered at the coaching staff for saying, what the heck happened to this guy that I'm seeing right now? It's going to be a really interesting one. We will have that out tomorrow evening. I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Peace.